Hi, my name is Hermie Smith, and I'm a disciple-making movements coach with City Team here in sunny San Jose. I'm with one of my best friends, Tom Marshall. Tom, you've been a disciple-making movements coach and also help people discover God. A lot of times, we've talked a lot. The goal with disciple-making movements, or DMM as we call it.
Call it in the trade.
In the trade, yeah. Is our heart's desire is to help people that are not Christians, that have many times have never read the Bible, to start to discover God, to start become a disciple, but not stop that, but also then be able to show others how to become followers and disciples of Jesus that showed others. So what we found is a lot of times, even here in the Bay Area in the United States, when we start to show people in the Bible, there's some baggage, there's some beliefs that some are helpful, some are not helpful, and for many times that's the first time a person actually opens up a Bible for themselves. So what are some of the best practices and lessons that you've learned for some of those that are looking to use these principles and to start to show other people to discover God, but they come across, these people have never opened up a Bible before. What are some of the things you've learned?
One of the things I've learned is even before you start the Discovery Bible process, you want to have some relationship.
Yeah.
And so once maybe I've shared with someone that I don't know very well, and maybe God has worked in a certain way, and I've asked them, would you like to learn more about how God, the God who answers your prayers, or the God who has expressed his care for you in a certain way, would you like to learn more about that God?
Yeah.
And then I'm going to take some time to get to know that person a little bit, and we'll be kind of talking about maybe my experience with God and just getting to know as people.
Yeah.
And so we want a little bit of a relationship that really helps as we start the Discovery God process. But then before we go into Discovery Bible studies, we want to give them a little bit of background on the Bible.
Yeah.
And we want to make sure that people understand they're not fearful if they have to have some background knowledge. You talk to most people who are not familiar with the Bible and say, I want to do a Bible study. That's a scary thing. What do I need to know about the Bible in order to be able to participate in such a process?
Yeah.
And so we want to start out very simple and not make assumptions what people know about the Bible. And even if I have someone who has some knowledge or background in the Bible, I like to tell them, I just want to start from the very beginning and share with you. And I would love to encourage you to be able to, in the future, to be able to share with other people from the Bible and just to know what are some things that you would want to share with somebody about what is the Bible and how do we approach it. Yeah. So I always start with an introduction to the Bible.
Okay. Can you walk us through an introduction like that?
Okay. One of the things that I
let's pretend
Okay.
You're
Hermie?
I'm one of those, yeah.
Hermie, I'm really excited that that you've expressed an interest in learning about God through the Bible. And the Bible is a book that God has used to express himself and tell people who he is, as well as what he'd like for us to do as people that he's created. The Bible is made up of a number of books. And the Bible that we use has 66 books. And it's divided into two parts. There's an Old Testament and a New Testament.
Okay.
The Old Testament was written before Jesus, and the New Testament starts with the life of Jesus and moves forward.
Okay. So it's not just one book.
It's not just one book. It's got a 66 different books. Wow. And like most books, if there's a table of contents, and you can find the table of contents typically at the beginning of your first pages. Some Bibles have some information ahead of that you have to flip through, but in this case, it's very much towards the beginning. Okay. And so here we see the Old Testament and the list of books that are in the Old Testament and the New Testament. Okay. The Bible was written over a very long period of time. It was written over a period of probably 1,600 years. Wow. Most of that starting 1,000 years, 1,500 years before Jesus was born, and ending about 100 years after Jesus' death and resurrection. And so it's written by a number of different authors over a number of years, and what we have here is a collection of their 66 books. And the books, we'll start with the book of Genesis, and the table of contents tells us what page to find that on.
Page 1, that's
Page
pretty
1.
easy. Yeah.
So if we're looking for Genesis, we would find page 1.
There it is.
And we'll find the book of Genesis.
Cool.
You'll also notice that we have some big numbers and we have some little numbers.
Yeah.
The big numbers are your chapter numbers.
Okay.
So we got chapter number 1.
Chapter 1, yeah.
And over here we got verse 20.
Okay.
And so this helps us to find things. You know, these chapters and verses were added later, but they're just really, really helpful. So we can find the same place and read
So you don't
the
have to
same
read the
section.
whole book from the beginning to find that part. Okay, I got you.
And so typically what I would do, Hermie, I'm not going to take the time now, is I might have you look up a couple of verses.
Okay.
I might have you look up Genesis 1:1.
Okay.
And have you hand you a Bible and have you find that for me
Okay.
and read it to me.
Cool.
And then I typically pre-think of a couple of passages. I don't like John because there's the book of John. And
so we'll step out just 1 second. Yeah, you can play a game, you know, find this, find that, and people actually just get familiar with finding, you know,
finding the table of contents.
Yeah, exactly. Also, what you may also do is ask me, you know, when I see someone walking with a Bible, I see the Bible, what are some of the first things that come to mind? And that reveals a little bit my attitudes towards the Bible. And you know, I found that some people with a certain background, they may feel like, wow, you cannot really understand the Bible. The Bible is a book to be respected, but you know, only ministers or priests can understand the Bible. And you know, for others, it's just like, you know, I grew up, you know, there's not really much relevance. It's, you know, so you kind of get people a little bit where they're at. And
find
so
out where they're at.
You kind of address a little bit that.
Sure. That's always a good thing.
But it's not a deal breaker if they don't believe that this is the Word of God or they're, you know, all on board. You know, they can start. Not at all.
Not at all.
You know, as they go through this, God's going to start to reveal.
They don't need to believe in God.
Right.
They don't need to believe God wrote the Bible.
Right.
What we're going to use the Bible for, and I'll tell them that the Bible is what we believe God has expressed to us, but He's expressing us His love. And as we read the books of the passages of the Bible, God actually begins to reveal Himself to us.
Yeah.
And I tell people that my hope is, and my prayer is, as we read the Bible, God will reveal Himself to you and that you will fall in love with Him. And as you fall in love with Him, you'll begin to put God in His rightful place in your life. And I see this Bible as a love letter that God has expressed to us to show us that He loves us and how we can live in a way that both pleases Him, but is also better for the way we live our lives.
Yeah. Cool. Great next step. In the next video, we'll talk about just how to organize, you know, how to teach people, someone to then go from just knowing about the Bible to actually start to get in the Bible and use the Discovery Bible study process that also leads to the Discover Bible group process. So be sure to check out the next video. Tom, thank you so much.
Thank you, Herman.
I appreciate that. Thanks for sharing your experience.
You're welcome.